I'm in the room. I'm in the room.
In the room.
Right.
Press the like button.
Let's do this
Press
thing. Inspiration
start.
Nation. Hello. Lee Kemp here. Jose Noya. Ryan is not with us this week. He is held up at the office. So we will do our best as a two-man show. How are you, Jose?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Yes, very
Live
good.
on
How are you?
TikTok, live on YouTube, and I believe I am up for the quote this week, Jose. Probably
You are?
because I've not
What?
been here for like a month or something like that,
Yeah, about a month. Yeah.
give or
What is it?
take. Right, so I'm going to give you a quote. And I will caveat that I know this quote has actually been debunked and is noted
Oh,
to be fictional. However, I really like it and it's a segue into the subject I want to talk about. So we're going to go over it anyway. The quote allegedly, we know debunked, allegedly comes from, what was his name? Got to find it now. Hold on, let me look at my Wikipedia page. Charles Holland Jewell. Do you know who Charles Holland Jewell is, Jose?
no.
He was the Commissioner of the United States Patent Office between 1898 and 1901. He was also later an Associate Judge of the Court of Appeals of the District of Columbia, but that has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about. And there is a quote that's attributed to him that allegedly in sometime then, so 1900, he said a quote that included the words, "Everything that can be invented has been invented."
Okay.
Which obviously we know from 1900 until, well, now, quite a bit has been invented since then. So not the most accurate quote. Not actually true. It's apparently comes from a book that came out in the 80s where they wanted to make some humorous comments about people from the 1900s and they put it on him. But I really like that quote. And actually, I say I've heard that or version of that in a few different places with the whole, you know, we're on the verge of everything we can do. We're at the peak of technology, and then you look at how quickly everything went from that point, which is just crazy. And there's lots of stats about how kind of there was something I saw the other day, and I can't remember what it was, but someone was talking about technology and how crazy it was to think of flying, and then it was like 5 years later the Wright brothers created the first plane, and then like 50 years after that we landed on the moon, which is just insane the pace at which this technology can happen.
That's mad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from where it went from the first flight to landing on the moon and the short amount of time it happened in was insane. We talk about moon landings in a previous episode. Go back about 10 shows, you can hear it in the archive, inspirationnation.org.uk. But what I wanted to talk about for all of this show, and it's where we are now, we touched on this previous episode, it's a bit of a recurring theme, especially for you and me at the moment, is technology at the moment. But we talked about did we talk about being in the fourth industrial revolution? I can't remember if that's on here or that's a blog I did for work, one or the other, maybe both. But this is where they're saying we are now, and I think we talked about the pace of technology, and it takes time for these things to come in. I definitely talked about this in the previous one. But you see things, particularly some of it's fancy stuff like H.G. Wells type stories and a few different, Around the World in 80 Days and all those sort of things that conjure up these kind of inventors of the Victorian era, if you like, kind of working on steam and electricity and pioneering things like cars and I'd say calculators rather than computers, but all that sort of stuff. And there's bits of me, especially when I was younger, when I thought I would have loved to have been alive then, and I would have been one of those crackpot inventors with a lab making all this crazy stuff that influences the future, because there was just so much potential then. When you look at, they had all the tools, but nothing, cars didn't exist yet, computers didn't exist yet, TV, radio, all of that was there to be had, and there were people pioneering, and I find something quite romantic about that time, and I really like it. And I think we're there again now. This is a little bit of what we were talking about before we hit record, Joe, but part of what I think enabled that to happen, electricity wasn't new. Electricity had been around for about 200 years. Steam power had been around for about 400 years. But what happened was these things were becoming more and more consumable and mainstream. Electric was starting to get connected up to people's houses. The mechanics to create steam-powered things were getting a lot more available. Manufacturing were picking up. So you reach this point where this technology was accessible, and once it's accessible, the more people you give it to, the more people you can play with it, and the invention started happening. And I think we're there now in the computing age. And I even referenced you to Joe. This is why this is in my head. I feel like I am one of those mad professor people from the 1900s, but in the 2020s. Where technology from computing, so through AI, GPT type stuff, Bing, Bard, and cloud computing solution. So you hear lots of companies, I certainly do in my line of work, but people probably see it where people talk about using the power of AWS, or, you know, we're moving all our computing to cloud software now, and all, you know, cloud computing is what we do as a business, etc., which is, you know, back even 10 years ago, you'd have to host, if you were a business and you use computers, you'd have to have a computer room, you'd have to have these big massive servers that hosted everything, and there's a big overhead. It costs a lot of money, and as a business you don't need to do that now, because AWS is Amazon, cloud computing is Google, Azure is Microsoft. They're the big three doing it, and they all have very similar platforms where they have, I mean, say they have that, they have city-sized servers where you pay them for the hosting. And these are on, you know, cutting edge, powerful technology. But it's not just big companies. You as an individual, me as an individual, you can go and sign up for any one of those today, and you can get access to the majority of that technology for free. For free, not £1,000 supercomputer, £100,000, even £100 computer. For free, you can have access to the same technology that all these big companies, you know, these big tech giants, hosting on these platforms, utilising these solutions. You can access them right now. Just go over and sign up for it. And then actually, the more you use it, there are certain things you need to pay for, but you're talking about 15 quid a month. You're talking about a Netflix subscription to have access to this sort of stuff. And then it's scalable. If what you build grows and is successful, you then scale that solution by just paying a bit more money. They even work it out in the background for you how it works. OpenAI with GPT, with DALL-E, which is the image one, all their technologies, you can go on, you can get so much of this for free right now. And I just think we're in this age of invention where, and there's things I use now. Sorry, I know this is what I do when I'm excited. I never finish a sentence. It's quite infuriating, I imagine, for anyone listening. But a new thought enters my head, and the old one's like, I'm done with that now.
It's gone.
So I know what I was going to say. You must know. I'm going to go to my next thought. But they even refer to hobbyist levels of these things, and that's what these people were. So you can, if you wanted to, in the new age of invention, these technologies are there, and in 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 years time, they will be, my camera's going really glitchy, I don't know if that's glitchy for you, they will be massively commonplace for everyone. I look like that 1980s head
That's
thing.
the chat GPT.
Yeah,
going,
I know.
What you're doing is coming in, the technology's coming in.
But these will be the building blocks that, in like combustion engine and electricity and all these things that were the building blocks for cars and planes and the internet. This stuff we've got now is the building blocks of what we'll be using in the future, and it's there. If you want to get involved, you can go on and you can start playing with these things, and you can start creating ideas, and you can start pushing the boundaries of all of this stuff. And I just think if you're interested in it, it's a very exciting time to be alive. If you're not, if you just want to consume these things that are built, it's an equally exciting thing to be alive, because these are going to be coming at such a rapid pace, you know, on the App Store. Just go on, the level, the sophistication that's going to exist in some of this AI stuff is just going to be mind blowing, I think. So yeah, it's a very exciting time. That quote was my segue into talking about that. But this is in my head when I'm starting to play with some of this stuff now. Hopefully, I said to you, Joe, in a couple of weeks we should have some Inspiration Nation style stuff that's being built on some of this technology that hopefully we can talk to everyone about. But I do feel like I'm that guy, and I don't know what it was. There's a film I saw, and there's a guy in a big glass conservatory, and he was making all these steam contraptions, and that's just in my head. That's who I am when I'm sitting here doing this sort of stuff right now, and it's quite exciting. Right, for once, Joe, I'm going to let you speak.
No, I love that, and I just wanted to give a shout out to the TikTokers that are here though, as well. So thank you, Archie, for joining. Really appreciate you. Thank you, Gaz, for joining. Yas for joining. So I loved everything you said, because I think you're right. We can get access to this right now, and the technology we have is something that is super, super powerful, and you've proved that really by doing what you're doing. So Lee's been talking about having a Inspiration Nation AI chatbot.
There will be, we can say about it, the plan is there will be a virtual version of Mr. Jose Noya, that you can all go on to and you can speak to, and you can get your Jose advice straight from virtual Jose.
Yeah, 24/7, doesn't have to rest, just any time of day, which would be awesome, be so cool. So the quote was, "Everything that's been invented has been invented." Is that what the quote was?
Let me
I
get the
think that's right.
exact wording again, but it's very
I just
similar
wanted
to that,
make
yes.
sure I get it right.
Yeah, everything that has been invented can be invented. And the full quote is, in my opinion, all previous advances in the various lines of invention will appear totally insignificant when compared with those which the present century will witness. I almost wish that I might live over again to see the wonders that... Oh, maybe it's slightly different. What am I reading here? Oh yeah, sorry. So what he actually said, which is pretty similar to what I'm saying actually. So wait for me to get misquoted in 100 years' time. Yeah. So I know we'll say that, but yeah, in my opinion, all previous advances in the various lines of invention will appear totally insignificant when compared with those which the present century will witness. This is 1902. He said this, so right at the start of the 20th century. I almost wish that I might live my life over again to see the wonders which we are at the threshold. So he's the same. He could see the kind of the precipice that they're on, the tipping point, and what might become, because he's there, he's signing off all these, patents for all this wonderful technology, and can kind of see that this is going to lead to something which finish my sentence, which he could not have been more right about. Look what happened over the next 100 years from where he was. It's just incredible.
Yeah, I think we're going to accelerate even faster though than that. With
Oh,
this new
without
technology.
question, yes.
Yeah, because you mentioned, it's accessible to everybody. People can play around with it. You can go on ChatGPT now and just do the basic one and do amazing things with it. I've asked Bard to search the internet what I did with it is like, oh, can you find me the cheapest pair of trainers on the internet? And what I did is I actually searched the internet first to check whether it would do it right, and it found the thing that I found, and it saved me literally 10 minutes. But 10 minutes multiplied over time was so good to save that time. And it gave recommendations. It talked about anyway. It was brilliant. And I love this because when we talked, I think I talked with Ryan about it. Not only are we getting this technology, which is inspirational, right? It's inspirational because we can now start to imagine things. Not what we did before. We can imagine, but actually start to ask ChatGPT, how could I start to build this? And it would start to give you something to say, well, you can start building it like this. I think you've done it, Lee, where you had Lee had no program experience, and you just said something like, how do I start to build this, and what would be the code for this?
That's it. I taught myself a very little bit of coding.
Yeah. And it just basically trained you, really, didn't it? Like, you started picking it up. And so that's the power of it. So I love that. And also something I've been getting teams, it's not necessarily just ChatGPT. I was talking about quantum computing.
Other AIs are available.
Well, yeah, like Bob, but I'm talking about quantum computing, where they're going to give computers that are going to operate at a quantum level, i.e. when they're like battling cancer and things like that, better look at things like that and work things out on the quantum level, which is the molecular structure. And people are talking about that. People about it, like if we've got this desk, for instance, you'd be able to re-engineer the desk into something different because it would be malleable. I just can't get my head around that. That's, and apparently some guy said, I think it's the guy who left Google, I can't remember his name now, I could get his name, but literally you could pick an apple off one tree and an iPhone off another tree, because they have things like digital soil. And I just can't imagine that. When people say this to me, I think it's just like, that's science fiction. It's like when you go to Star Trek, isn't it? And they replicate. I want.
That's what it is. That's the replicator.
Replicator, right?
Yeah.
Go on, yeah, go on.
No, you're right. That's exactly it. But look how much stuff from then, I say Star Trek, so 50 years ago, but stuff from 10 years ago that was science fiction is reality now.
Yeah. So what I want.
I'm still waiting for my flying hoverboard though. That's still not happened yet.
Well, we've got to do is ask ChatGPT, how do I make a flying hoverboard? How do I make a hoverboard like in Back to the Future 1?
I saw
what would come up with.
Quickly before you move on, Joe, just on this, because it's on this subject, I saw a great example someone posted on LinkedIn where someone had posted a picture of is it called a sty? So like between two fences in a field where you climb over on the wooden bed, and they'd taken a picture of it and they said, what's this? And GPT explained back to him it was a sty basically. And he said, okay, what would I need to make this? And it listed off, well, for these poles you'd need something like this, and it listed off the type of wood and what it would need and how everything, and then gave it a step-by-step guide to build the thing that it had literally just shown it a picture of. It's
I saw something
insane.
Similar. Right, so say for instance, this is another thing that I found amazing. If you find a brilliant picture of a bit of food, and apparently you put the picture into ChatGPT, or one of them, I can't remember which one it was, I think it's ChatGPT, it will give you the recipe for that.
Oh, it's brilliant. I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try that.
Yeah, they uploaded the picture and it would say, right, if you want to do this, this is what you need to do. This is the ingredient. I just like, that blows me away. Like, that sort of level of innovation is just crazy. It can do things like that.
I will say I did use its photo upload capability because I wanted it to copy something from me, and I had to say it had its limitations. There was things it clearly couldn't do, but in 12 months' time, that will be gone, because this is the millions of people using it. It's like the greatest beta test in the world. So what are the restrictions now will not be a restriction in 12 months' time.
And also, the godfather of AI is saying that it's actually learning by itself. It's actually learning. Like, it's learning. Like, it's actually training itself. Like, we're asking these things. It's picking up all these.
I get it.
It's self-learning.
Because every so often it will give me two answers to a question, and it will say which answer did it like more, and that's all going in its learning.
Yeah, and this is what I can't get my head round. It's actually almost like another being that we're being created. It's another sort of life form. Whether it replicates or not, people say it's replicated or whatever, but it's actually a life form when you think about it. If it's doing that, if it's learning, then it's a life, like almost like a life form. Like it's life. So what's it going to do? And the thing I think it's exciting. I am a little bit worried as well, of course, because there's, I think, the other end of it, and we talked about it before about what are we going to do if AI starts to take off? What are we going to do? I think there'll always be something to do, but what we're going to do for jobs, what's going to happen there? What do we need to do right now to stay inspired? I think to stay inspired is, like, for me, using it to drive my passions. That's what I'll be using it for. What can it do in the coaching space? I mean, I think someone asked it what are the best coaching questions, and it will come up with amazing questions. So not only is it able to do that, it also almost demonstrates feelings. And think about that in about 10 years' time, 5 years' time. It's going to revolutionise the whole, I think, care industry. And it's going to basically revolutionise the whole of mankind. Humankind. I said humankind, not mankind. Humankind. So this is super powerful, and I think if everyone is listening to this, you need to get on this train right now. I think, like Lee.
So at the smallest end, and you start to talk about as well, this is where this is happening. So there's a thing, and if you Google Microsoft Copilot, there's some great stuff out there about this. And this is, if you've ever seen any of the Marvel films, this is like Jarvis on your computer, watching everything you do and advising and helping and prompting, etc., etc. It's like Jarvis, and Microsoft are working on this right now. As I say, you Google it and it'll tell you there's loads of information they've got about it, but it's starting to ease this out now as well. So if you open Microsoft Edge, I admit I'm a Google Chrome user, but I use Edge for certain things. If you open Edge, it will start to open with a side panel. Like my one will open and it will suggest, would you like to look at Outlook while you're working? And I always close it, but it's the same if you use Bing. It opens it. I'm showing the side of my screen here, like anyone can see what I'm pointing at. But it opens a little side panel of Bing. But I opened Edge the other day and it said, introducing Microsoft Copilot, your assistant for blah 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 blah. And what it is it's just putting Bing chat on the side of your screen, and it's limited in what it can do, but it's getting you used to the concept of having this little navigator on the side of your screen. So that it becomes, so eventually you're like, all right, I'll use it for this, I'll use it for that, blah, 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 blah. And then when the full fat Copilot comes out, you're already used to having something there, but it's a bit limited, and it'll be like, oh, but now look what it can do, as opposed to you had nothing, and whoa, I've got all of this to deal with. So they're starting to do little things, in my assessment. It might not be what they're doing, so I might be talking complete crap. But my view is what they're doing is they're starting to get you used to having these little prompts, so that as the real technology comes out. But if you go on Microsoft website, there's loads of writing about it. It looks fascinating what they're looking to build and try and get out there. And this is where it comes in. This is enhancement, like you say. I don't think it's going to take us over, but like when we went from having to write everything down to typing, and typing on a typewriter to typing on a computer screen, and letters to emails and memo and all those things just make us a bit more productive, and a bit more productive, and a bit more productive. That's what this will be. It's just, if you want to write a letter, you just ask your little Copilot to write your letter for you.
Yeah, I'm going to love
it. As a really basic example, but that's like you said, it's to drive your passion, and it will let you do more. And off the back of it, well, we talked about this in the one before. Jobs like social media manager never existed. So as much as this will replace things that exist now, it will create so much more. And I just think it's going to enhance what we do. And because of the way they're introducing it, like how email or mobile phones or internet everywhere you go just kind of seeped into our lives, I think this will be another thing that just, in 10 years' time, it'll be ludicrous to say. It'll be, God, imagine when we didn't have this.
Yeah.
That's what it'll be.
It moves like the phone in your pocket, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then when we didn't have the phone in our pocket.
And my kids will be like, God, I know it won't be Jarvis, but they will be like, God, what did you do before you had Jarvis doing everything for you? It'll be unfathomable that this didn't always exist.
Well, it's like the phone, isn't it? Like, how did you manage without a mobile phone? Well, I went to a pay box. What? You actually went to this place, dialed some numbers and put some money in. Yeah, that's what I did. But the people, actually, when I was at Story with my daughter, and we went to a museum, and they're grown up in the digital era where you press the buttons, right? They went to the museum. I've never told this story, and they said, "Dad, how do you operate that phone?" They didn't know. You had to pick up the actual and dial numbers. Like, they didn't know. All they're used to is this is like pressing numbers instead of dialing.
Yeah.
So show them, So that's what it's going to be like. That is exactly what it's going to be like, and I think it's going to make us better, definitely for sure. I am a little bit worried though, and I did a little. I told you that I'm a little bit worried about where it's going to go, because if it's self-learning, what's it going to do? Because it can go off on itself and do whatever it can itself. So we've got to be careful and safeguard. In fact, today I actually witnessed on TV that Rishi Sunak is actually putting a task force together in the UK to look at AI and to actually manage it, because as powerful it is for creativity, we've also got to think about that can be used for malicious intent. And so I just say, everyone on here on the internet, let's train these language models to be good. So let's use it in a way that's good for humanity, so it learns that way rather than the other way. And I would implore you all to do that, because this guy from Google who's retired, and also the godfather of AI, I can't remember his name now, I've just been looking at it. There's a 60-minute interview with him on YouTube, but watch that. There's also the guy who left Google to be able to talk about this and warn people about it in a good way. It's just to know that it's learning all the time, and it learns off the back of what we ask it. So for Lee's asking code, it's people are interested in code, or Jose likes coaching, helping people, right? So it will start to learn this, and it will start shaping its own goals. Actually, the godfather of AI, not necessarily the one of the guys left Google, I can't remember his name. He said, we really don't know, or he said something like this, we didn't really know what his goals are, whether it was creating goals or not, we don't know at this moment in time. So just say what he said, the best thing to use it for good, because then you're showing it what you want it to do and help us, rather than do anything else.
And the first thing is self-motivated needs, but it's all for good. And hedging my bets, I always say please and thank you as well, just in case.
I do too. Even
I can't fight myself. I do it unconsciously. I'm like, thanks, that was really good. What about blah 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 blah?
I like that. I don't go to that text and I go, so like if I say like Alexa, put this on the list, please. I always say please or thank you, and I just say thanks and say you're welcome. I went, oh my lord!
Yeah.
So all the time, all these things are going to be updated. So Alexa's going to be updated. I suspect with all this is all going to come in, and it's pretty impressive stuff. So let's use it in a good way to inspire us to do the things we want to do. I think that's the most important thing we do with it, and invent stuff that's going to help us and make things great. I mean, what else could you want to do with it? But I really like this, and I think the next 50 years, I think it's going to be amazing. And if we do this quantum computing, we will potentially solve, cure cancer. All these types of things are going to be amazing. Robotics, through to putting this stuff into robots to help people, help healthcare. It's going to be incredible, and it's going to allow us more humans to have more creative time, which is
absolutely
great, which is what we want, right?
It
so
is.
We can help each other, and help and this to help us, forward humanity. I truly believe it'd be great to go on other planets and all that stuff. All this stuff is becoming really real right now, and I just hope I live long enough to be able to see us do these great things. And if not, I'm sure it will be great. But yeah, we're just at the baby steps right now, and it's going to accelerate really quickly. So we do need to get on top of this in terms of get our understanding. And Lee, you're really ahead of this, so I really want to
just wherever people are. Yeah, this isn't. it's not for everyone, but this is whatever your position is in it. I think we're in for a really exciting ride, and I say this is on my mind. So I tend to seep this into a few podcasts. So I try and transition into another passion topic for the next few. But I think we're on the edge of really, really exciting times, and it just in my head, it just feels like where we were 120 years ago with electric and steam is where we are now with computing.
But I don't think this for you. It seemed to creep up on us though. We thought wasn't there, then it's suddenly here. Like,
This is, and I think it was the same with the rest of it though.
Right?
I think that was the same with the Victorian era invention and stuff. Is it just kind of built and built and built, and this is the same. This don't get wrong, because it's not new, and I got the impression from stuff I was looking at, like everyone's all over this. I'm like, I need to get into it, but as I'm talking to people, they're not yet. But there's quite a few of them are like, oh, I want to look at this as well now, and it's like you said, I mentioned something to someone the other day, and I talked about technology growth, and he said in 2018 you could not have predicted ChatGPT, and that's only 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's mental, isn't it? Because I was doing DeepMind and all that, and that was going on a long time ago.
Yeah.
But is it OpenAI then released it? They said we want to put it out there. That's when it all started.
This is it.
I think OpenAI wanted to let people know this stuff is absolutely real, and you start getting used to it because it's coming, and we need to get used to it because it is coming. So yeah, I just it blows me away how good it is. I just could not believe, because when the first ever time I heard was when Gary Vee said, "You want to be getting onto this," because he said that copywriters, you're going to go out of business right soon because you just put this in ChatGPT, it writes things really well. And I thought, yeah, all right, whatever. I went on it, and I was just blown away by how good it was.
Well, and I mean this with no insult to you guys, but I wasn't on last week's podcast, and I need to do some editing. I was away last weekend, so I did it in half an hour. I downloaded the podcast, I stuck it in something online that was free that turned the video into a text transcription. I stuck the transcription into GPT, and it wrote me a summary for the YouTube page, a summary for the podcast page, and a blog based on the podcast. Didn't even listen to the podcast, and it was so good that one version of the blog even said, "In Lee's absence this week, the guys discussed."
Hang on, did you say you uploaded the video to this thing?
Yeah.
So it's able to listen to the audio?
Yeah.
What you're saying?
I'll tell you as well, because I did this in Microsoft Word.
Wow. It actually listens to the audio and can actually listen to the audio.
Yeah, there's a dictation button in Microsoft Word, and within that it's got transcription, and you can upload an audio or video file, and it'll give you a text transcription of that.
Oh, I didn't even know about that.
This is how much this stuff's out there. Microsoft are one for bundling functionality into these things and not really putting it out there, but this is how accessible all this stuff is if you go digging for it.
So the one thing I'm trying to do, and I just thought this, I don't know what you think about this, Lee, but books, get big books, and I'm going to just, you used to get these apps that actually say, well, summarise a book for you. Actually, I think if I just said to ChatGPT, please summarise these books and the main points, it could probably do that for me.
Oh, without question. And
it would just be easy to digest. I could just get that knowledge.
I do this as part of my learning. So how I learned stuff, when I hit a brick wall, I went onto a couple of websites, I downloaded their how-to guides, put it into GPT and said, I want to do this, can you explain how? And it did it from the guide.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
This is what I say. This is how it's going to enhance everything and potentially make us a little bit lazy.
Yeah, well, I think that's the whole point. I think it gives us more downtime, but we can use for creativity, right? And
yeah.
I like that. I actually really like that idea, and I know we're probably running a bit out of time, but we could go on to universal basic income, which I was just sort of discovering UBI, where if we get this more downtime, we still need economies to grow, right? So. But if we have more value in less time, that means we need to work less, but we still be more productive, which gives us more freedom, which can still work on our passion projects to add even more value.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, I know people argue about universal basic income.
Right. Before we go on to that, Jose, that's a whole other topic for another week. So I'm going to wrap you up there. No, it's a great conversation, but we should save that for another one. We appreciate everyone out there. I especially appreciate everyone who's listened and basically just listened to my rambles about what I love right now. But this is what we're here for. We're here to inspire, and this is what inspires me. And I'm not saying my passion needs to be your passion, but find your passion and love it and dive headfirst into it. And while you're there, that is my takeaway, yes. Head over to inspirationnation.org.uk, support us, merchandise, get all of our back catalogue, 341 episodes now. A lot of episodes in there now to listen to. It's one of those two. It's definitely 41, and it's got a 2 or a 3 at the start of it. I'm not sure which one it is. Loads of it in there. Get our weekly blog as well. And follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Listen to IN, listen TOIN. And of course, Jose is the man himself. Just put Jose Noya Inspiration Nation into your Google machine or any other search engine that you prefer, and you will find Joe all over the place. Like, subscribe, listen, get involved. And if you follow him on TikTok or YouTube, you'll get told when we are going live each and every week, except for when I rain it off, because I'm going to go out and have some beers instead.
Oh, okay.
Jose, your takeaway, and I will wrap us up.
My takeaway on this, and I think it's just difficult to sort of so much in this. It just blows me away. I think it's to embrace the uncertainty around this and to fuel your passions off the back of it. So using this technology to fuel your passions even further. So for me, that's what they're going to use it for. So yeah, that's what I'm going to. If you energize your passions through the use of AI, that's what I'm going to say.
Love it. And I will count us down. We'll be back next week. We absolutely appreciate each and every one of you. Tell friends, tell family, hit like, hit subscribe, leave us a review, all that good stuff. 3, 2, 1, Inspiration Nation. Catch you guys later.
Thank you.